Salam əziz izləyicilərimiz, Agile mövzusunda ikinci podkastımızla qarşınızdayıq. Bugün Agile layihə idarə etməsindən danışacağıq. Son zamanlar bu mövzu ilə bağlı bir neçə həmkarımız mənə müraciət edib, fikirlərimi alıb. Müzakirəni daha peşəkar müstəviyə keçirmək və mövzuya ekspert yanaşması təmin etmək üçün İngiltərənin Prince 2 standartı üzrə təlimçi və IT layihə meneceri kimi böyük təcrübəyə malik Rumıniyalı ekspert Ciprian Grancea'nı qonaq qismində podkastımıza dəvət etdik. Müzakirəmiz ingilis dilində olacaq, lakin videonun aşağısında Azərbaycanca altyazı verəcəyik. Ümid edirik hamınıza həm maraqlı, həm də faydalı olacaq. Hi Ciprian.
Hi İsmat.
So nice to see you after a while and have a talk with you on such an important topic.
Thank you for the invitation, and we haven't seen each other more than 3 years ago or something like this?
Approximately 3 years.
Okay.
Sure. So you have a shining sign in my Agile journey, and I think you have to feel pride to have hundreds of mentees like me in your mentoring career.
Yes, let me say first of all a few words about myself. I'm a Prince 2 Agile trainer, and when I'm not training or teaching people, I'm practicing. That's what I am a consultant for various companies in Romania on the project management part. Most of it is strictly IT, but I had also some other experience in retail, construction, so on and so forth. But my main focus in the last period of time are indeed the Agile trainings, because people starting to see more value in knowing about Agile, let's call it. And there is a greater and greater interest in all over the Europe with this Prince 2 Agile courses that I can see. Because as a comparison, 3 years ago, half of the time I was delivering Prince 2 waterfall trainings, and the rest of the time were Agile, whereas now it's almost 80% of the time I'm delivering Agile courses, and only 30% of the time, 20%, sorry, are remaining for the waterfall part.
The interesting part of this standard is like in PMI, it covers all types of project management, but it focuses mostly on Agile, tries to give great focus on Agile. It's very interesting. This first time I became familiar with this standard. It drew my attention with its approach to two-level approach to project management. What I mean, it's the management level of projects are just run with Prince 2 project management style. The execution implementation stage is done with Agile frameworks. It's very interesting.
Let me complete with two points. Yes, indeed, Prince 2 comes with this approach where the higher part of management and delivery is still waterfall. But the only methodology that I know so far is Prince 2 Agile, where while conducting or delivering a Agile project, you see the value or the emphasis put on project manager. Because, for example, two of the most common methodologies, Scrum and Kanban, for example, don't put any value or don't bring into place a project manager. They consider that the Scrum Master with the product owner will be more than enough to deliver a project. Whereas from my experience and my expertise, there is always a need for the project manager, because, okay, you have the product owner, he knows what is best for his product. You have the Scrum Master that will help you keep everybody in line with the Scrum approach, but how about risks? Who are managing those? How about budgets? Who are managing those? And there are a lot of other components that, frankly, all other methodologies that are strictly related to Agile beside Prince 2 don't seem to get a handle of them. The second point that I was trying to complete you with, you said about the split initially 80-20 that I was mentioning. Well, in the last years, what people saw is that businesses are changing very quickly. If years ago you had the time to spend investigating, you had the time to spend negotiating with partners, you had the time to focus on the benefits that the project will bring, now you have to deliver always more complex products, especially software, if we want to stay in the IT related area, but it's not only in IT that Agile is worthy. And now in 6 months, 1 year mostly, you have to deliver something. So the old approach where people stood and spent time analyzing, you don't have it anymore. That's why everybody saw this greater speed to the market, to have the need to put something valuable in place and to see how we can improve it later. And that's why all of a sudden Agile, with the values and the techniques that come behind it, became more and more popular.
Thank you, Ciprian. Actually, you touched a very important point regarding these project risks and budget management points. In most companies, maybe some companies, we can call it, the product owner is the person who manages project risks, product budget, etc. So in this case, we can call them product manager or project manager. So it's very important point regarding the product budget and product risks, because sometimes in most companies, product owners are like just customer representatives. So most of these companies do not follow Agile project management approach. They are not doing release plannings or etc. They are just doing doing Agile way of working. So like endless how to say process, sprint by sprint. So it has no start and finishing points like general project management. Sorry. As we reached this point, I will kindly ask you to explain this slight delineation between Agile way of working and Agile project management. I know both of them are complementary and they cannot be considered apart, but there is a slight, as how to say, I have learned from you 3 or 4 years ago, there's a slight distinction or just like a wall between them to consider them what is Agile way of working and Agile project management.
In order to ask you to answer this question, I want to highlight a point. When we are talking about Agile, in general, Agile is nothing. Agile is like a belief, is like the way you are going to church and pay your respects towards your God. You cannot say that you are doing Agile or not. It's not something binary. We turn it on a button and we turn it off. We are doing Agile or not. Yes, when we are talking about Agile, we are talking about values, we are talking about some techniques, we are talking about some tools even, but Agile, it's much more than that. It's about how you tend to report yourself to what's happening around you. Because even if we are working in sprints, and even if you are working with a Scrum Master, but nobody is communicating properly inside that company, if we don't have transparency, for example, if we don't let people to self-organize themselves, and we are still the boss who slam into the desk and say, well, by tomorrow it has to be done, Agile is not let's call it it's best implemented in those areas. In order to answer your question directly. Once we are talking about a start and an end date for an initiative, we can call it project management. If we are using the same techniques and we are using the same ideas that we would originally use in our projects, but we are using them as day-to-day business, it's the main difference between agile way of working and project management. For example, if we go into our offices each day and we have the Scrum Master, we have the sprints planning, we have a product that we are keep implementing it, but without any clear deadline and budget behind it, it's just agile way of working. Whereas agile project management, it's the same, but we start with a clear purpose, and by the end of this year, let's call it, we have to close whatever we want. Usually, but this is not necessarily only for agile, but it's also applicable for every part of the project management part. When you are finishing the project, you hand over the product that you do to a different team, maybe outside or inside the same company, and the original project management team will dissolve or will be reallocated to a different part. I was thinking about that we have businesses that, especially in our daily work, tend to show us how agile is introduced in their way of working. And I'll give you an example of a bank in Romania that one of the values that they put very well into practice is focus on value. And they say like this: where is our value best seen in the market? So what they did, they took all the cash machines out. They don't have any cash machine in the country, and on the same time, they put a lot of extra money into their mobile app and reduced to zero the taxes for retrieving cash from other banks. So what they did, and from my point of view, it's a great example. They said, okay, where our value is in the fact that you can find a cash machine or an ATM every part of the town you go with our brand on it. No, our value is to transfer people to do everything online and on the mobile app to make it more friendly. And with all the cost saving that they did by removing the cash machines, they put it in the app. At the same this moment, for example, they are the biggest bank. And me personally, in the last 10 years that I've been working with them, I've never used cash operation with them because their app is so good. And everything that you need from them is in the app, and it's more than enough.
Ciprian, by the way, you touched a very important point regarding deadlines. So it's a common problem in agile organizations running against deadlines. So most of them claim or just complain that we are talking about agile, being agile, and where we hear deadlines. It's a common problem. So they think that if we are doing agile, we don't have to think about deadlines or just be so strict with dates. So that's very important point that you touched. Just the main target should be deadlines, because if we speak about time to market, or how to say dynamic and quick maneuvering in product market, we have to be quick, and we have to challenge our deadlines or our speed of progress against these deadlines. Just I would like to return to get back to our previous topic and ask you to how to say speak about, like, a bit broadly about who is agile project manager. So and why do we need agile project managers? Because as you told, if we speak about project managers, agile does not accept boss or managers, and the word command and control are not common or acceptable in agile. But why do agile organizations need agile project managers? in which directions they are useful for companies?
Well, from my point of view and from my experience, the first thing that a good project manager does, especially if he's working in an agile environment, is to keep the project team, the delivery team, happy and away from the business perspective. What I mean by keeping them away is that the business and the clients usually have a lot of ideas. Some of them are good, some of them are great. But if you keep interrupting the team from their current development just to ask new ideas or new ways of changing the project, instead of them being able to deliver, you will have only a role of consultancy. Now, besides keeping the business on your side and dealing with them and leaving the team alone, you also have the bigger picture, because in none of the projects that I have been involved, there was only development. So you have, yes, development, but you also have to think about where the new software, where the new part of the project will sit. Is it in a data center? Is hosted on site? So on and so forth. And this kind of details are usually handled by other teams. So whenever you need, you have projects that need more attention and more than just one working stream like development, yes, you need a project manager, because at the end, besides this, you also have to think, when you are an agile project manager, how to explain the fact that the benefits, the things that the business expects will happen in some time or not. You have to be the person who negotiate with them from a change perspective, because yes, change is inevitable and we welcome it, because at the end we will have a better product than the one we started on. But somebody has to keep this kind of an interface, because if you put business people with development team in the same room, most of the time they don't speak the same language. Some of them will refer to the same thing in a different language, and all of a sudden you'll have a lot of
gulp of evaluation. I love this terminology, gulp of evaluation.
And the most important thing, besides having this bird eye view of the project, the project manager who is working in agile environments have to inspire trust. Why do I say it has to inspire trust? Because the deadlines, as you said, in waterfall, yes, we keep them as tight as possible, because we know how to evaluate the project. We have a lot of standards that help us with evaluation, and we know for sure how things will go. Whereas when we are talking about agile, and usually things that at the start of the project, we start with few requirements and with a big leap of faith in order to deliver something valuable, somebody has to be trustful. Because when you go in front of the business and tell them, yes, we are late, but not late because we don't know what to do. It's late because we always find things that will happen, and they have to understand why those things are happening, not just because we are lacking experience or expertise in that area. Let me give you an example. A few months ago, I put in production a huge website for a retail company. And besides being 6 months late with the delivery, we still find bugs because we have a huge integration behind that website. But the business people have seen that we are trustworthy, that we are doing the best to resolve the problems, and most of the time they know that the problems that we are having now, even they, when they did their testing, they did the user acceptance testing, missed out those errors. That's why the most important thing is trust, because if we are not trusting each other, it's a very dangerous slope to go into blaming and playing the blame game. Yes, you didn't do that, the other one didn't do that. Yes, we know that things will go wrong. And
yeah, right. If we lack trust and if we create a toxic blaming environment, so in such environment, conversations focus on how to say peoples or how to say subjects instead of objects. The real problem. So that's right, pretty right.
And going back to to this part of trusting, this is one of the values that Agile respects most and put a higher level on top of it, next to self-organization. Self-organization, if you allow me a couple of minutes to talk about this, is one of the key things that I put in my daily base practice. What I'm talking about when I'm saying self-organization, I'm thinking I'm going into a room full of developers, full of people that know how to do things. I show them the requirements and I'm telling them how much time it will take. I'm not the one arguing with that deadline or trying to change it. I will take that deadline and put it in my project. When that deadline is not fulfilled, they cannot come back to me and say, we didn't know, somebody else gave that deadline. No, but in the same time, it creates a mutual respect between me and them, or themselves in the same team, because they all took part of the negotiation, they all took part of the establishing that deadline, and entirely as a team said that it is possible to deliver it or not.
Yes, thank you for just not only focusing on Agile project manager and Agile project management, but also in Agile view of Agile thinking, Agile values and principles. As a final note, I would, Ciprian, kindly ask you to give some words on just on the project. For example, if we have an Agile project manager, where product owner and Agile coach stands in this project. So generally, do we need a product owner and Agile coach, or if we have a Agile project manager, we don't need them? Please briefly about that. And
from my perspective, there are three totally separated roles. The product owner, as I see it, is a person who is dedicated in what is the best for that product alone. Because let's imagine the scenario. You are part of a company that sells that product to the clients, and out of the sudden comes a special client that wants some modifications to that software. It's a big client, a big pack of modifications. You appoint a project manager, and during the project, all kinds of change requests will pop up. Of course, in my point of view as a project manager, I have to please both the business and both the client. Whereas the product owner will simply come into place and say, yes, we can accept this change request because they are part of our strategy. On the long term, yes, we are going with the product in that direction. Or it can simply say, no, it's out of our strategy. That's why the project manager will focus on the products and the change request attached to the scope of the product, where the product owner will have a more strategic view. He will be the one, for example, who will give us the specifications for the minimum viable product, or
general
for
product vision.
Exactly. Where the third part, the Agile coach or the Scrum, it's more there, if you want to put it in Prince 2 roles, it's more like project support, or we can even put it as a project assurance. Because, okay, the team will work in some direction, they will follow some rules, but from time to time, somebody has to align them up. For example, one of the powerful techniques that I've seen in Agile and it works are the daily stand-up. It's very easy when you are doing the same daily stand-up for, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. At some point, somebody will start talking about their cat or about their home problems during that 15 minutes. And this is where the Agile coach or the Scrum Master will come into place and say, guys, we are here for a totally different reason. Okay, in some cases, you can combine some roles, but usually the project manager has a lot on his plate. And imagine that you have a project when you have two different two or three different suppliers, and each of them have their own daily stand-up. You cannot be there for all three of them. So that's why you, as a project manager, will focus on the project, where the Agile coach will come and help you to align the people in the same direction.
Great. These points were very important and significant, as I told you during our last conversation that recently some colleagues reached me on this topic and asked about the role of Agile project management, and they thought that they want to put project managers on their Agile projects, so they would like to know who is Agile project manager, and do they need project manager generally, or if they put project managers, will they need product owners or Agile coach? So your description was the exact prescription for their questions. Thank you, Ciprian. Thank you for allocating your valuable time to share your knowledge and experience and efforts to contribute to Azerbaijani business community.
It was entirely my pleasure, Gizmat, and if you have any questions, you know where to find me.
Thank you again. Hope colleagues will like the video and it will increase the interest in the topic of Agile project management and Prince2 standard. Belə dostlar, bugünkü qonağımız Rumıniyalı ekspert Ciprian Grancea idi. Qonağımız Agile layihə idarə etməsi ilə bağlı fikirlərini bizdən paylaşdı. Ümid edirik sizin üçün maraqlı və faydalı oldu. Rəylərinizi şərh bölməsində gözləyirik. Eyni zamanda növbəti podkastlarımızın hansı mövzularda olmasını istəyirsinizsə, bunu da rəy olaraq bildirməyinizi xahiş edirik. Gözünüzü bizdən ayırmayın.